So when I was in middle school, I'm not gonna lie, middle school is around the age when I started hitting puberty. And hitting puberty isn't easy for anyone because obviously you start realizing things about yourself and you start, well, looking at things a different way, even if it leads to cherries. But before the story starts, make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Seriously, it means a lot when you guys do. And on top of that, if you guys do want crazy stories like this live, I'm currently live on Twitch streaming and telling crazy stories just like this one. But anyways, other than that, let's get straight to this crazy story. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba and welcome to a brand new story time. So today's story, like I said earlier, starts off with me back in middle school. So back when I was in middle school, I never really did the Devil's Tango until I want to say grade 8. But before that, I'm not gonna lie, I started hitting puberty. I started looking at things a different way and I started really looking at life in a new perspective. And let's just say I ended up realizing around that time that I was more of a cherries guy instead of a peach. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, you guys are probably too young to be watching this channel. But if you do know what I'm talking about, then you agree with me, right? Like seriously, comment down below. Which one are you, peaches or cherries? Anyways, going on from there, I remember basically when I realized I was that type of person, I remember one day when I entered my school after being dropped off, I ended up going to my classroom. When I got there, I realized that we had a new teacher. Except this teacher, she had a really snarky attitude. I don't know why. She was really, how do I put this? Honestly, I can't think of any other word than snarky. She would always make like really rude comments towards the students, and honestly, she wasn't funny at all. And I remember when I went into the classroom and sat down, I remember she ended up explaining, you know, her name was Mrs. L, and how basically she was going to be a teacher for us for only a little bit. Apparently, we needed a substitute because our original teacher had like a cold or something. I have no idea. But basically, she was going to be there for a couple weeks just to, you know, help us with teaching, I guess. I don't know. What else do substitutes do other than basically sit there and just teach? So I remember when we had her, basically, she ended up basically teaching us a lot about social studies and stuff because that was the class she was taking over. But also another thing about her is that she was really, really weird. Because in some moments, and I'm not gonna lie, in the most weirdest moments, she would kind of like say really weird things to us. Like, for example, she would talk about how she had randomly 3 different divorces, and it got to the point where she even explained how for some reason she would talk about how like her kids left her and stuff. I don't know, just really stuff that are really out of pocket, and that, let's be real here, no grade 7 should be hearing about in the first place. From there though, I remember basically the whole class started to realize that none of us liked her, so we kind of just started avoiding her all in general. She started realizing that, and then she ended up saying this really weird comment saying, oh great, so now all of you guys are leaving me? Like seriously, like who do you guys think you are? Okay, you're not my husband, you're not my ex-husband, and you're not also my children. Okay, I'm here to teach you, so grow up. Okay, is what I said afterwards. Because to be honest, I had no idea what to say to that. But then what ends up happening next was even more embarrassing. I remember the next day when I entered school, one thing I realized right when I walked into the classroom was that everyone, and I mean every student, was trying to sit towards the back of the classroom to avoid basically hearing her snarky comments and basically try to get out of her peripheral vision. Which, I mean, fair enough. I'm also a person that does this a lot in classrooms because I don't want to be seen by a teacher that doesn't like me. So I remember I kind of just tried to sit towards the back, but all the seats were taken, so I ended up sitting in the front of the classroom. Preferably, that's not the seat I would like to be in, but there was no other place for me to sit. I remember I sat down and I just ended up sitting there and kind of just made a promise to myself to basically avoid all eye contact, because there's no way I was gonna let this teacher look at me straight in the eyes and basically intimidate me till my life's done. And by the way, the reason I say this is because I'm gonna be honest here, in grade 7, my confidence wasn't like maximum until like, I want to say grade 10, grade 11. So it makes sense in some sense. But going on, I remember when I sat down in front of the classroom and I was just waiting for the teacher to walk in. The teacher ends up walking in, but what she was wearing was, well, let's just say something that a teacher should not be wearing. She ended up wearing this really tight dress that was, well, red, and she started wearing red heels. She walked into the classroom, and I'm not gonna lie, I thought she was gonna film some sort of Devil's Hub video, because like this outfit that she was wearing definitely did not meet the dress code for our school. But at the same time, I always asked myself this, is the dress code also towards teachers or is it just students? Anyways, going on though, I remember basically when she walked in, the whole class, and I mean everyone in the classroom, started staring at her. We all started looking at her, and I'm not gonna lie, one thing I realized about her was that her cherries were popping. Like no joke, never seen before cleavage, just popping out like no tomorrow. Like no joke, one jumping jack and they're out. Like I don't even know, man. Like you guys should have seen it. It was insane. So I remember when she walked in, a lot of the guys actually ended up going from the back of the classroom, moving up to the front to get a better view. And since I was already in the front, well, let's just say I was already in the splash zone. Yeah, high five. I'm alone. Never mind. Going on. I remember as the class was going on and she was teaching us, all of us, and I mean every student was just staring at her cherries and her outfit. No one, and I mean no one was actually paying attention to what she was saying, because every time she would mention something or say something, she would point out a student and be like, okay, so Timmy, can you tell me what happened? And little Timmy's just gonna be staring straight at her, going, oh yeah, like, you know, it was just pretty obvious that no guy was actually focusing on it. And it even got to the point where some girls in the classroom ended up just being super upset and leaving. Why did they leave? Well, no idea, but it will make sense later on in the story. But then for some reason, I want to say later on during class, I remember she ended up saying to the classroom, okay, class, so I'm gonna get one student to come up here and I'm gonna show you guys the way that basically they ended up dancing back then. I remember when she said that, she ended up looking directly at me, and me, I'm not gonna lie, I was looking straight at her cherries. I wasn't looking at anything else. And then she ended up saying, okay, Bubba, do you want to come up here? Huh? Yeah, sure, is what I ended up saying. So I ended up standing up and going up to the front of the classroom, and when I saw her, me and her, we ended up standing in front of each other, facing each other. And since she was taller than me, since I was a short kid in grade 7, my peripheral vision was directly, and I mean directly, straight to her cherries. I ended up just staring at her as she was dancing, doing this, I don't know, rain dance, I guess she was teaching about. I have no idea. And all I saw was just those cherries going up and down like no tomorrow. And yeah, that's all I was staring at. And honestly, one thing I will say is that she definitely knew I was staring at them, because right after she ended up saying, okay, Bubba, my eyes are up here. And right at that moment, I remember I saw her hand movement to, you know, do like that weird like 2-hand eyesight thing. You guys know what I'm talking about. And I looked at her and I'm like, oh, yeah. And then that's when she actually flipped out. She was super upset to that point where she said, okay, seriously, you guys are objectifying me as if you're my ex-husband. Who do you guys think you are? And right as she says that, I remember my principal ends up walking into the classroom that we had. And apparently he was called in by one of the students that was one of the girls from earlier that ended up leaving the classroom. He ended up walking in saying, okay, Mrs. L, I'm gonna need to speak to you outside, please. You know what's the funny part? 100%. My principal was checking out her cherries. There was no way he wasn't. But anyways, one thing led to another. He ended up going out the classroom with her, had a conversation about student dress code and how it basically does lead to teachers somehow. And how basically he said this word for word, you can't dress like a whore in school. Kind of crazy how that's being told to a teacher, but hey, what can I say? Back then, it is what it is. Anyways, guys, that is basically it for today's story. Make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And like I always say, follow for more embarrassing stories. Peace out, guys.